Submitting ERAS is not the finish line, it's actually the starting point. And what you do after your submission determines if your inbox is going to be full of interviews or it's going to have minimal interviews or no interviews. So in this video, I'm going to be walking you through 12 steps, the 12 things you need to do immediately you submit your ERAS application that will help you position you in a way that you would to maximize your potential for interviews. Now think about it like this. You have two applicants, right? Applicant A and applicant B. Both of them are equally qualified. They have around the same scores, but one of them ends up getting a ton of interviews, gets matched, and the other struggles to get interviews and doesn't get matched. This happens all the time. And today I'm going to be making sure that I break it down so you understand the difference between a successful applicant and an applicant that is not successful. And by the end of this video, you should understand how each applicant navigated the season, the things that they did and the things that they didn't do that led them up to the point of success or the lack thereof. The first thing is thank you, gratitude. What do I mean by this? After you submit your ERAS, you just take the time to be grateful to yourself, your mentors, your letter writers, your colleagues, people who have encouraged you. Just take a brief moment and just be grateful. The gratitude in itself helps the brain understand that it's making progress, re-energizes you, reinvigorates you, and makes you ready for the next step. Because like I said, this is not the end, this is just the beginning. So you want to be very grateful. And there's so many ways being grateful helps besides helping you as a person now, right? So you want to send an email or text message to your letter writers, to the residents, to the fellows, anybody who has helped you. And you tell them that, oh, I've submitted my ERAS and I'm hope for the season. I will keep you updated. And the reason for this is you want to give people, one, you truly want to be grateful for their input, but you also want to have them know in their head that, oh, the season has begun, so that they will have you in mind. It's just kind of a subtle way of letting them know that, oh, the season has begun and I'm here, I may need you, but thank you so much for what you've done. Get it? Fantastic. So that's the first thing you want to do. And going by these two, applicant A and B, applicant A thinks that the job is done, while applicant B sends thank you messages to everybody. So that's the difference. And the lesson here is that gratitude is a polite way of priming your supporters to fight for you. And now that you have warmed up your mentors, your letter writers, you have primed them to support you, the next step, and this step is where the curve between applicant A and B begins to separate, begins to diverge. And this is activating your mentors. Now, I said you thank them. The next step is to activate them. You want to prime them. So you want to say something like, there are 3 programs that I love and I hope to interview. I'm just watching and see how the season is. I'll reach out to let you know how it's going. So you want to activate them. You want to let your mentors know, these are the 3 or these are the X number of programs that I'm seriously interested in and I'm hoping to get interviews. I'm going to let you know. What you're trying to do is you are trying to have your mentors be alert, to be able to send emails for you, to be able to call for you, to be able to do anything on your behalf that will increase your likelihood of success, right? And I guess what's the timing? It just depends. You can thank them and at the same time let them know, or you could give it 2-3 days apart, you could give it a week apart, but you want to activate them as soon as possible. And as powerful as mentors are, there's just not enough mentors. We need an average of 12 to 15 interviews to match. And so it's very rare to have 12 to 15 mentors that can call for you, right? So what you want to do is leverage your mentors. But then the next step you want to do is try and find somebody that's going to can stand in for you like a program director, someone who is in that level in academics. Now, most of us as IMGs do not have access to a program director. That is fine. You want to look for the next best thing, and that is your program chair, your program, your dean, or your head of department. If you can get access to that person and just have them know that I may lean on you in the next coming weeks just to prime them so that they have an idea. You don't want to be the candidate that starts running from pillar to post when you don't set interviews. That time people are less likely to help you because you seem desperate. So you want to give them heads up early. And of course, now that you've said thank you, you've shown gratitude to yourself and to the people who have helped you, you've activated your mentors, you've talked to somebody who's a program director or chair or head of department or dean, so those people can be ready to speak for you. The next step, which I think is one of the most important, and this is the reason for this, there are just more of them than the rest of the people. So we've mentioned mentors, we've mentioned program directors, but there's not a lot of these people. The next people we can talk to are residents and alumni, people that have been through that program or people who are currently in that program. Now, it's better if they are third years or chief residents, because typically the program takes third years and chief residents more seriously than first years. Regardless of the residents you find, you want to send them a message and just thank them and let them know that you've applied to their program and you are hoping that they will be able to advocate for you, especially if they know you personally or if they've been in communication with you. That would boost your chances. So residents/alumni, because residents are able to whisper your name in a closed room. They're able to advocate for you even when you are not seen. So I think residents are very powerful to try and leverage residents advocating for you. Now, the residents might advocate for you, your mentors might also advocate for you, but the thing is, sometimes the residency program itself has a time that they go through all these applications. So there has to be an alignment between the people advocating for you and the time when the program is ready to review your application. The next step is to try and get your own application in front of the program yourself. And the way you do this is by using smart targeted letter of interest. You want to send a letter of interest within the first 10 days. So if you submit your application, if the ERAS deadline is today, you want to start sending smart, targeted emails by day 10. You don't want to wait until it's long gone. Now, a lot of people, by this time it's still early, and a lot of people get a few interviews. Mostly AMGs, mostly American graduates get a lot of interviews within the first 10 days. Well, not a lot of interviews. They get some amount of interviews. Programs typically send out interviews to AMGs before IMGs. However, you don't want to wait too long. You want to try and be in the first two batches, first batch, second batch, that interviews, just because one, it helps your anxiety, and then two, you can get rid of interviews as much as possible. And because by the end of the season, you will get burned out and get tired. So you want to get it as soon as possible, right? So by day 10, you want to send out emails. Now, the difference between applicant A and applicant B is that applicant A sends spam emails. This is completely wrong. Applicant A sends spam emails, but applicant B sends customized emails, right? He sends customized emails to programs. And what do I mean? That you want to sit down and look at the 20 programs, including programs that you see now, the ones that you like, and you ask yourself, what happens if I don't get an interview in this program? Now, before day 10, you want to start just writing customized emails to each of them. Just 10 minutes break, compose an email for programs that you are very interested in, but you think you might not get an interview, or might not get an interview as soon as possible. You want to compose email by day 10, so that they have so that you send them. Now, what are the rules for you now? So, sending a bunch of emails that are not customized versus sending 5 to 10 emails that are customized and well written is a huge difference. One of the rules of emails is that you don't want to write more than 2 paragraphs. You want to be as short, as concise, as succinct as possible. In the email, you want to put your AMC ID, you want to put your name, you want to put your scores, and you want to put your ERAS photo. That's it. That will trigger the person opening your emails to check your ERAS application and hopefully pull it out of the pile and put it where to be reviewed. That will help your cause. What you don't want to do though is, one, you don't want to, there are a couple of rules for this, right? When you send an email, there's a rule. Well, they're not a rule, but there are best times the best way to write an email, the best time to send an email. And let's talk about that right now. Now, what is the best way to send an email? The best way to send an email is to use your institutional email. What does that mean? So instead of using Gmail, instead of using Yahoo Mail, you want to use mails that are customized to your program. For example, endurance.ivaika@umans.com. You want to use something that's, because the generic emails usually go to spam. Often they go to spam, and if you're not lucky, you might miss that person and not get a reply. So you want to use your email. Now, the next best thing is if you don't have an email from an institution, what you should do is use your ERAS email. Use the same email that you used to register ERAS to send them. That may also help. But I preferably just will use my institution. And the reason why I know this is when I applied for residency, I used my Gmail and I still got a lot of interviews. But when I applied for my fellowship, I used my institutional email and I got way more replies and interviews. So I think that using an institutional email will help. If you don't have that, the next best thing is to use your ERAS and ERAS. Now, about the email, you have to keep it very short. And we've talked about it, you have to make it very short, right? The next thing is, what is the best time to send an email? You see, applicant A just sends the emails very randomly, but applicant B knows that there is timing for everything. Every single thing has the best possible time that it will be effective. And what applicant B sends the email in 2 categories, either very early, sometime around 7 o'clock in the morning. So you use Eastern time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, or 7 o'clock Central time, or 7 o'clock Mountain time. But you want to send it very early. And this is when people typically just get to the office, right? People just get to the office very early. Send it early. So applicant B sends early, applicant A random. This is not good. So you want to send it very early. The next best thing, if you can't send it early, you want to send it somewhere around 12:30 to 1:30 by midday. And that is typically the time when people are on break, right? That is when they've sat down, they want to have lunch, or they're chatting with their friends. You want to send it at that time. So very early in the morning versus midday. Now, it's best to send it between Mondays to Thursdays. Most people get out of office on Fridays and don't check their mails till Monday. That might make your email get lost in the pile. So you want to keep it Mondays to Thursdays, early in the morning or midday. And then you should also realize that opening message in your email should let them know that you are aware that this is a busy period for them. You have to, acknowledging people is one of the biggest ways to get people to be responsive to you. If you want someone to do something for you, you have to first acknowledge that you are making them or putting them in a position that is uncomfortable, right? So when you open your email, when you start, my name is Endurance. I understand that this is a stressful period for you, and I am thankful for going through my CV. I am an intermediate applicant, and I am applying to your program because of XYZ. My scores are XYZ. I'm really, very grateful for going through my CV, and I'm hopeful to interview with you. Boom, period. That's it. Put your MC ID, put your picture. That's it. A lot of people, when they send me messages on LinkedIn, they send me about 5 paragraphs. I am unable to read. It's like a whole manuscript. Do not do the same for programs. Nobody reads more than the first paragraph. Nobody's interested. Keep it very short. Keep it very succinct. Don't tell me your personal statement in the email. Just 4 or 5 lines, you are good. The idea of an email is not to have the whole details there. It's to make me curious enough to go and look at your profile, right? That's the whole idea of the email. That's it. And now you can see the difference between applicant A and applicant B. The curve is growing. Applicant B is getting things done, but applicant A is not aware about these things. And now the next step is even where the gap gets wider between applicant A and applicant B, because applicant B is able to put themselves in front of the program directors, the faculties, and the program leadership. And how do you do that? It's by attending conferences. Now, a lot of us are applying to the US. We are not in the US, and that is fine. The few of us who are in the US can target conferences within their location that programs will be. Now, I don't know all the conferences, but there are a few that I know, and I put the link in the description. Click and download that. The idea is you want to be able to go to these conferences where you will have an face-to-face interaction with program directors, program coordinators, program leadership. And I had a friend of mine who actually did this, and this led to an interview where they eventually matched. So this legit works. The problem with this is that it's expensive. You have to go in person. It's a whole problem with going to conferences because it's pretty expensive, but can be very helpful, especially if you're within the US. So, like I said, the link is in the description. Click, download the file. You go through all the states and look at where you can find conference for yourself. There are also options like virtual conferences that you can go to, and that will also be very helpful. So, for those of you who are not in the US, I would also encourage you to attend conferences that are virtual and have the ability to connect you, even though it's virtually. You have to just still try your best. Now, a lot of people talk about open house, virtual house meetings. I personally don't know how useful those things are. I went for maybe a few open houses, but at the end of the day, I think from my little experience, they were completely useless. Now, you can play the game and you could, and so I'm not sure, because there's so many people in the open house, it's difficult to give you a very real formula of how to stand out during an open house. If you ask too much questions during an open house, you come off as annoying. So I'm not really sure how exactly going for an open house helps you or hurts you. Now, you could argue that maybe during an open house, you have attendance and the program will cross-reference. I don't think it's going to count so much. I think if you have time, you can go. If you don't have time, it's not necessarily a big deal. What counts is your interaction with program leadership when you're able to talk with the PD or the APD. And for those of you who are wondering, oh, I can't go for the conference because I don't have anything to present. No, you do not have to present anything. Just go there, ask intelligent questions, make good interaction, and just be a jolly good fellow. Just be somebody that can talk with people. You don't have to present. People will remember the person that asks them very smart questions. And if you ask smart questions, you make impression in people and they immediately think about you in a certain light. So do not miss up on that opportunity. Now, and after attending conferences, you're connecting with people, you're seeing program directors, program coordinators, you're talking with the chief residents, you are doing good stuff. This is exactly the playbook of applicant B, while applicant A is just sitting and hoping for interviews. Do not be like applicant A. Do not hope for interviews. Take it into your hands. Your destiny is in your hands. You should definitely pursue this. You have come this far, and USMLE is a very tough journey. Nobody talks about how tough the USMLE is, but it is very tough and it's very frustrating. And there is a chance that you might want to just relax during this time, but do not relax. The next step you want to do, what you want to do is be very proactive. You want to make sure that right at this time, you are preparing your answers for your interview. And do not be like applicant A, because applicant A says, I will prepare later. That is what applicant A says. A lot of people want to get interviews before they start preparing for interviews. But this is counterintuitive. What you want to do is start thinking about just the most common questions they ask you, right? The first top 5 questions. Tell me about yourself. Why this program? Why internal medicine? Just tell me what you do for, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Those questions, you don't want to necessarily start rehearsing them at this time, but you just want to think about it. What are the commonest questions that are being asked on interviews? And actually, I compiled a list of 30 questions in the link below, so you can just click and download it. These questions are the questions that I was asked, and about 9 of my friends were asked. So I asked myself and 9 other people, so 10 residents came together and put these questions together. We also cross-reference these questions with the website of the AMC to make sure that we are getting the highest, most frequently asked questions. Compile them and put them in the link. Download that for free. So you now have the list of questions, the commonest questions asked. Don't stress about it. Just think about your answers, your truthful answers, what you would answer if someone had asked you this question. Just think about them. Now, you might want to write them down. You just write them down in a Google Doc and get them organized right now. There's no rush, there's no panic. You are very calm, so you are likely to think about them more in depth. Just being in the know early gives you an unfair advantage, and that is what you want to have. You want to make sure that you have all the advantage that you can get. And now you have done fantastic things. You are like applicant B. The curve between applicant A and applicant B is widening continuously. But even just knowing the questions in itself is not enough. The next step you have to do is come under fire. Perform mock interviews. Simulate real world scenarios. Because it's only when you come under fire that you will realize that you are not able to speak fluently, or you have a communication gap, or there are questions that you didn't really think about that hard. You think you have an answer for them, but then when the question is asked in a different way, you are lost. So you want to start performing mock interviews. When is the best time to perform mock interviews? I think it's the first, maybe a week after you submitted, because you want to just relax for the first 1 week, right? In the first 1 week, you just want to relax, refresh, and no rush, right? But after the first 1 week, you want to try and start mock interviews. You want to have your colleagues, your mentors go back and forth so that you begin to fumble in front of your colleagues and yourself in the mirror. But you don't want to, but by the time you are ready for interviews, it becomes a second nature. You are ready for this interview. And that's what separates applicant A from applicant B. So applicant B practices mock interviews. Applicant A does not. It's better to sweat during practice than to stumble on the day of interview. So I'll encourage all of you to do mock interviews, simulate real world questions. And when you are doing your mock interviews, you want to be very serious. You don't want to, there's no time to go and be, you could laugh, you could just laugh at yourselves, but you want to also have interview and give feedback, execute your feedback, and go again. That's what you want to do. I say this very seriously because I see a lot of people who have 260s, 270s, but do not match. And there's so many reasons for this, because most of us are IMGs, right? And English might not be our first language, or our accent, we may need special feedback for the way we speak. And so I will encourage everybody, if you don't speak English, your first language, or you have a strong accent, you want to take your time to practice interviews. And let me let you know about the secret about the US. You know, most Americans, when you talk with them and they can't hear your accent, they don't tell you that. They just nod their head and they smile. But they really don't understand what you're saying. But they just keep quiet and they're nodding their head. They don't tell you. And so they will score you terribly because they didn't hear what you said. But they can't tell you that they can't hear you because they're very nice people. They're like, they don't want to hurt your feelings. They don't want to tell you that, oh, I can hear you. So it is always good to have somebody that will be very objective with the feedback. No, they will give you constructive feedback, but they will be able to tell you the things that it is as it were. So that you don't go thinking that you are good at something when you actually are not. I'm opening a waiting list for people who are interested in practicing interviews and getting constructive feedback in interviews. If you're interested, click on the link below and join the waiting list. But again, the difference between applicant A and applicant B is that applicant B knows that no matter how polished your application is, your red flags will always stand out. What does that mean? Applicant B knows what they call red flag audit. You want to audit your red flags yourself. And how do you do this? You see, when you have low scores, or you have a huge gap year, or you have multiple specialties on your application, people know this. People can tell from a mile away. So that you are probably applying to multiple specialty, that you had a very low USMLE score, or you had an attempt, or you have a huge gap year. People can tell immediately. What you want to do is anticipate their question and have answers, 2 to 3 answers for their questions. And that is the difference between applicant A and applicant B. Applicant A ignores red flag and just hopes that the interviewer glances over it and doesn't ask them. No, but applicant B takes charge, takes control, and audits their own red flag. What you want to do is self-manage everybody. You want to write down your red flags and specifically talk about how you're going to answer the questions. If they come up, have a composed answer. You want to make the answer very succinct, and you want to have an approach to the way you answer your questions about your red flag. They have to be what happened, what you learned, how you grew, right? So what happened, what you learned, and how you grew. But you want to have 2 to 3 versions. And I will say this every single time. Red flags do not kill interviews. It is your silence that will definitely sink you, because a lot of people don't want to address this in their personal statements. They are not comfortable talking about it, which is fine. But because it's a very competitive process, and because people are interested in knowing if you've learned, if you've grown from the red flags, people are interested in knowing what has happened since then. So you kind of owe it to them for an explanation, unfortunately. So you should try and get comfortable talking about your red flags. And now you are like applicant B. You are practicing the commonest question interviews. You are doing mock interviews. You are able to audit your red flags. If all these things come together, they will work for you. However, you have to have a great setup for your interview. And what do I mean? You see, having everything set and all the questions ready to answer can only be done if you have the chance to interview. And that is only done virtually. So you need to get your internet set up, you need to get your computer set up, or your phone, or your camera, but you need to set up your stuff. Now, a lot of us have phones, so that's all you need. So you want to be cognizant of the logistics involved in your interview. The most important is your internet connection. After that, the second most important thing is your microphone. It is more important to have a good microphone than a good camera. Let me say that again. It is more important to have a good microphone than a good camera. And I'll tell you why. When I was interviewing, I had 1 or 2 interviews that I did completely without the camera. I was just talking with the person and the person was talking with me. It was more like a phone call, but we were able to do the interview, right? And the best way to do this is when you do your mock interviews, try and simulate a virtual studio. The same camera, the same microphone, the same setup, so that the person on the other end will be able to understand, to know if there are glitches and can give you feedback. But you want to make sure your interview logistics are in place. So after your internet connection, followed by your audio or microphone quality, the next thing is your lighting. Your lighting is by far more important than the camera quality. So what you want to do is you want to buy a ring light or a softbox. You want to have the light at a 45 degrees from you. I said right now as I'm talking into the camera, I have the light at my 45 degree. So it comes to your face from this angle, right? That is what you want. You don't want to have the light directly in front of you. It makes you squint and makes you unable to see the camera or talk very comfortably. You want to have it by 45 degrees. So if you have your internet connection, you have good microphone, you have good light, that's all you need. Just position your camera and have your camera at your eye level. You don't want to be looking down, right? You want to be looking at your eye level. Now, it's okay to look up, that's also fine, but preferably so that your neck doesn't hurt, you want to look at your eye level. Fantastic. That's good. Remember, do not forget to smile. Just smile. Always smile. When you talk with a smile. Anything you are doing, do with a smile. If they ask you a question, answer with a smile. Anything you're doing in interviews, you do it with a smile. Now, applicant A just keeps refreshing their inbox, hoping that interviews will just land on their lap. But this is not what applicant B does. Applicant B knows that you have to be proactive. You have to anticipate the next step. What does applicant B does? They build a system. They build a program tracker. And this is simply like an Excel sheet where you have the programs that you have signaled and then the other programs that you are also very interested in. You have columns where you put the contacts or people that you want to reach out to, what time you want to reach out to them, have they sent you invite, have they not sent you invite. You just want to put everything in one place, right? So that when you go to your tracker, you're able to find out, oh, I haven't sent the email to this program yet. I haven't replied this person yet. This person said I should reach out to them, but I haven't reached out yet. Build a program tracker. That's a system that organizes everything in one place. It keeps you accountable and it makes you not miss any information. That is very important. While applicant A is in chaos, applicant B has clarity, has to-do lists, has things to follow up and things to do next. Instead of being anxious, you want to take control of the situation. And your confidence will begin to grow. That will begin to separate applicant A from applicant B. The mindset that separates the average applicant from the unforgettable applicant is protecting your energy. Reset your mindset and protect your energy. Applicant A burns out, but applicant B protects their energy. And despite how anxious you may be, like applicant B, you want to sleep, you want to do some exercise, you want to talk with friends, you want to grow a group of 3 to 5 friends where you guys are just talking back and forth, people that you can bounce idea off, you can talk about your frustrations with. You want to protect your energy. Positive people that are supportive, give you very constructive feedback. You want to be in that group of people, right? Because this time is a very stressful time. It's a very stressful time. So you don't want to go down the route of just, running helter-skelter and just feeding your anxiety. No, you want to protect your energy. You want to know that it's going to get better. It's not better today, but it's going to be better someday. In the next few weeks, you'll be fine. So that on interview day, you show up, you are composed, you feel energetic, you feel full of energy. When there's a debate between applicant A versus applicant B, who do we choose? They will remember your composure. They will remember how calm you are. Because at the end of the day, we are physicians, and one of the characteristics that we must have is to be calm. So that in itself, because of that mindset, because you are resting, you're exercising, you have a good support community, you are able to bring this on interview day. And that's the difference between applicant A with minimal to zero interviews and anxiety driven versus applicant B with a ton of interviews, relaxed, composed, grateful, and just positive. So I guess my question for you is, who do you want to be? Applicant A versus applicant B? Let me know in the comment section. And here's the reality. More than 90% of applicants, after hitting submit, they stop at this point. They think that they are done and they are hoping for interviews. They think that the next step is going to be, the next person is the program that's going to play the next step. Actually, that is incorrect. If you're able to implement these steps, you should definitely be ahead of the curve. You should definitely be well positioned to maximize the potential for interview. And that is how you win. In this video, we built a couple of things to help you through the process. One, we built a residency program tracker. We've built a red flag script, a conference networking guide, interview prep checklist. We also have spots for your mock interviews, right? Just comment in the comment section. Let me know which of them you're interested in. And you can find the links in the comment section. Click them and start your journey today. Here's what I want you to do. Pick one of them and go to work. And when you're done, if you have questions, just leave it in the comment section. I'm going to reply you. What I want is just take control. Do not wait for interviews to happen for you. Go ahead and be proactive. Wishing you guys good luck. And as usual, I'll see you in the next one.